Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. And today I welcome Pamela Benner to the show. And I'm really excited about talking to Pamela about her writing, her passion behind writing, what her new book is going to be about, all the themes she's got in that, and much, much more that we're going to touch on today. So I'm just going to quickly introduce Pamela, and then we're going to start our conversation. So Pamela has been passionate about books for years and has brought this passion to life in her writing. After self publishing a series of 12 books, she decided to write her testimony. Writing her story brought healing, clarity, and understanding, but most of all, freedom. Her inspiration was to write her life story from her birth to the passing of her parents. Her heart was for her bloodline and for future generations in what she's written. So, Pamela, welcome to the show today.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here as well. And yeah, you've written quite a lot of books, and obviously you're writing your latest one, your testimony.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, have you always been quite a creative person?
Yeah, I was creative as a teenager for a short time. And then it wasn't until I got into my 40s and 50s that I decided I was going to pursue the writing.
Oh wow, oh wow, and yeah. Then what are your first 12 books about, or were they a bit of a mix?
They were Christian based. I began that journey of healing when I was returned back to my parents after 20 years. And I lived in a small little bedroom. And one day I just started writing just anything and anything that came to me. And as time progressed, I started to actually put together um, a Christian book, which I wanted to help people through the written word, and also in terms of a little bit about my life along the way. But I didn't get into a whole big testimony with those books. It was more of a book, a prayer journal, and a study guide, which I was using to heal myself in that time period. It took me 12 years to write them. And after I wrote them, I started to give them out to people of all walks of life. And it took me another 8 years to give out the last of the books. And that was when my mom had passed away. And then it is when I decided that I was going to write my full testimony. And actually, I had a long period of time of 10 years that people were encouraged me to write my whole testimony. I didn't want to do that. So it took a long while for me to make that step in writing my full testimony. And that's what I've done in this book. I started from my birth to the passing of both of my parents because I was their caregiver for a good 10 plus years. They had rescued me from my divorce, and that's what brought me back to their home after 20 years. They helped me heal through the first 10 years as I wrote. And then it was my heart to help them in return when they needed help in their 90s. So that's how it kind of played out for me. And then I retired after 20 years from retail work, and I was ready to retire. I was having a lot of fun playing golf and swimming and doing all that retired people do. And then all of a sudden, the desire to write again after a couple of years, I pursued that and I decided I was going to tell my testimony. But it took me a long while before I came to that agreement within myself to want to write again because I was so over writing after all those years. And I gave all the books away. I didn't want any money for the books. People thought I was a little crazy about that, but I just wanted to help people. And I didn't have the right marketing. I didn't have any of the things I have today in order to get those books out. So it's been almost 22 years now since those books were done. And now I'm able to put them on platforms, and I'm able to have a website, and I have a lot of backing on it all. I have a lot of support, you know, with the publishers and getting these books done. So I'm going full force now.
Oh wow, that sounds like yeah, you're really inspired to write your testimony after all these years and all these supports. So how long did the testimony like take you to write from like sort of start to finish?
Um, I would say 9 months.
Hmm. Wow.
9 months. It was an everyday thing, and it was any time of the day. And I'll tell you that it really truly healed my life, because I had to go back to all those moments and all those situations. And I had to face myself in them as well. And I had to take responsibility for those things as well. And I had to uh, see the truth of the matter. I saw how the dots connected in all of those situations in my life from the time I was very young until this present moment. And I would encourage anyone to go through the same journey, because it truly is miraculous to have that type of a healing. It just freed me completely from all of my woundedness, from all of my emotional pain, from all of those things that kept me stuck. And I've been around the church for many years. I did school of ministry when I first got divorced. I went and became members at that church. And then when I came to Florida, I was a member at another church for like 13 years. And it's all spoken about in this book. But church was good. It was my safe haven. I went there for peace. I didn't go there for any other reason. As a matter of fact, I wrote the book series while attending that church. I went to all the prayer meetings, went on to all the services, and then I would come home and I would write for hours. And that was my healing time. I honestly never planned on writing those books. I just had a vision for them, and I started to make these dummies. They're like, you put papers together and you fold it over, and you write like the title and some of the content. And then before I knew it, they began to develop out of nowhere. And so I never gave up. I had a lot of times where I had every opportunity to just not do it anymore, but I continued to do what I needed to do at that time, because that was my lifeline. I mean, I didn't see my kids for 5 years during the divorce, and it was just so heartbreaking. So this just kept me alive, basically, and gave me hope when I didn't have any. So that's pretty much how that all worked out. And then after that, I had the promise of, healing my life if I was to write this book now. And I decided I was going to go for the gusto and give it my best.
Wow, and it sounds like writing was a very powerful healing thing
It
for you.
was it because I was a very quiet person. I don't really share much. I keep my thoughts to myself, and the writing actually was my voice. These books are my voice. These books are my heart. I slept them. I ate them. I lived them basically as well too. Even as I worked in retail, I would fry chicken. I fried chicken for 8 years, and it was during those night shifts that I would get the inspiration. I would get the actually the subject I was going to be writing, And then I would go home and I would write.
Wow.
And that's how it all got developed. And I also did go to some book shows back then, which I do mention in the book. And that was just another avenue in which it just never let me quit.
Mm.
It was just continuing on in the journey and not stopping. I started the book series 20 some years ago, and I did them over and over and over for the fourth time. This is my fourth time actually doing the book series for the fourth time. I had so much opposition at the time, but I never quit.
Mm.
And if that's the message I can give to people is you never quit on your heart's desire. You never give up on your dreams.
Mm.
And this was my dream someday that I would be doing exactly what I'm doing right now.
You kept writing. I love that. How was
Yeah.
it? How did you find it was healing for you, the writing?
Well, I didn't even know it at the time actually until after all the books were done and all the books were given out that was what healed me. I thought it was just so miraculous in that respect that I didn't even know that I was being healed, if that makes any sense. It automatically just happened over that period of time. My emotions, all those things, all those wounds were healed, and I was actually transforming in all of that time to who I am today, because
Mm.
I'm not the same person I was 20, 30 years ago. I was very insecure. I was very quiet. I didn't speak much. I kept to myself. Just a lot of things, but a lot of it was within me that I needed to heal from.
Mm.
Because when I lost my business before uh, I had come to this conversion of going to church and going to school of ministry, I lost my business. And at that time, I understood how people can actually come to such a breaking point that they would actually turn to killing to somebody, because that's what I experienced in my breaking. I know I had a nervous breakdown to some extent, but that was when the promise of writing books came into the picture. And I was able to let go of my business and try to make the right decisions for myself. And that was to go to art school in Florida. That's what brought me to art school. I came with $100 and a dream in my heart that I would someday write a book. Now, at that time, it was just one book. But as time progressed, it turned into 12 books.
Mm.
So that's how that process all healed me. It was just a lot of things that kind of worked together for my good during those years. And I think the most important thing is I just decided I was going to do the work. I was going to do the work for myself, because anybody that truly wants to be healed on the inside has to do work. There is no magic to this. It's just something you have to decide that you're going to make those changes. And that's when I came to my parents' home after 20 years. That's when I decided I had to make a change, that I wanted to heal. I wanted to not just heal a little bit, I wanted to go the whole 9 yards. I was going to either do it all or I was going to do nothing. And I decided I was going to go for the gusto.
Mm.
And I didn't know what the time frame was. I didn't know any of this. I just went by faith. I just trusted myself and trusted what I knew at the time, that somehow, some way, it was going to work out.
Mm. I love that, having that faith.
Yeah,
Um,
it was really a faith thing. a faith thing because my mom and my dad witnessed it all through those 20 years that I lived with them. That was the greatest blessing right there. They witnessed everything that I went through. They witnessed everything I did. I brought my faith into the whole home, in terms of caring for them and believing for them and having faith for them. And my mom used to say to me, "You have great faith," because she didn't, she had faith, but she didn't have the kind of faith I had. And I know that was a gift from God that I had great faith. And I expressed it and I lived it. And I was good to people. I was told to be good to people. I wasn't told a lot of spiritual things in terms of my faith, but I had to learn to be good to people because I wasn't a good person back then. I had done a lot of wrong things because I was hurting and because I was wounded and because I had suffered a lot during my life. So it made me ugly, it made me bitter, it made me resentful. It just made me into a monster, so to speak. Nobody could understand that because they see me now. But that was the truth. I was so hurt, and the hurts just kept building one after the other from the time I was small until I reached my adult life.
Wow. And yeah, it sounds like you turned to faith a lot and kind of like,
Yeah, I
did
mean,
you
that was,
write? Did you write to faith at all or anything like that in your writing?
yeah, I mean, I wrote scripture-based books
No.
for the Journey book series that I was writing during this healing time. It was all scripture based, and then I incorporated my life and certain aspects of what I was going through or what I had gone through. So yes, it was a Christian based. They were Christian based books, and I believed greatly in prayer, and that's what led me to do prayer journals. And then I went on to doing a study guide because I felt I could teach somebody something through those study guides. So that's how that kind of rolled out for me. But this new book, To Touch One Heart, is a little bit different because it went beyond my original emotional healing, so to speak, my woundedness. It went on to a place of healing my life. And there is a difference to that because it was healing every part of me. There was nothing lacking and nothing broken in doing this testimony book. It was just sealing the deal in terms of healing all the little things that could have been in between the first time when I wrote the book series.
Mm.
So, and I'm still, going to continue to write more of my testimony because the next book that I do write has a lot to do with where I am today in terms of my relationship to faith and my relationship to God. Where this book is basically my life story until my parents' passing. So I'm looking forward to doing the rest of the books. There's going to be 3 books that will express my testimony. I had to do it in 3 parts. So I'm not saying I've healed completely, but I know this is exactly what I need to be doing. And it's really causing my heart to more passion for people and wanting to help people and wanting to be a blessing to people. And that doesn't mean anybody that I know per se. It could be the stranger that I just feel I have a heart and compassion for, and that I will help them in any way that I can. And as well as my family. That has been my heart's desire from the very beginning, is to help people in any way, shape, or form. So I'm hoping that this podcast will be heard by many people that have been hurt and wounded and cast aside, from the world's perspective, because That's basically what happened to me. I was just thrown out like a piece of trash until I decided to um, do the right thing and go for the most part of the journey of healing.
Mm. Wow, powerful. What would you say, Pamela, to, and that's such a great intention to put out to the world to people as well going through, because I know there's a lot of wounding out there, a lot of hurt things going on. So I love how you're sharing your testimony of what you've gone through, how you've like turned the faith, how you've transformed elements of yourself. For the individual who's like really wanting to like maybe write something, but they're a little bit stuck, they're like,
Yeah.
where do I begin? What kind of
Yeah,
guidance could you offer
I
them?
get that all the time with people because I do eventually tell people that I write and I have a book, and I've always shared my books, and that's the most joy that I've had in my whole entire life was to give my books out. That was the greatest joy. And to be honest with you, if I had a chance, I would probably do that even with this book. But I know it's time for me to put it out there to the world and let them decide on what they would like to read. But no, to get back to that is to say that I lost my train of thought for a minute there.
That's all right.
Um,
No, just like what you might say to someone who's
oh yeah, that I
looking
have
to write.
that yeah that I have people that always come across my path, and the first words out of their mouth is, "I want to write a book."
Mm,
They all want to write a book. And I really want to help people write a book. I want to help people write their story because I know how important it is and what it does for you to do that. Because you're putting everything on the table when you write your testimony or you write your story. And I've done that. And yeah, and then usually what happens is they decide they don't want to do it. Most of the people just turn away, and they just don't want to put the time in. They don't want to put the effort in because it's not easy to write a book. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and you have to be determined to see it through because it is a process. It's not just like bingo, the book is done. No, you have to go through all those feelings and all of those situations, and you actually have to feel them, and that's hard
mm,
to feel those painful moments. It was a lot different when I did the book series than it is now because this was the real deal for me. This was
mm,
like the going to the root of of the whole issue that's been in my life. And that's tremendous to me because I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing this for my grandkids. I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for generations to come. And that's what my family maybe not has always understood, but my heart is for my family, regardless of what the differences have been through the years. And there has been a lot of destruction in terms of relationships and disagreements and a lot of family opposition, even for myself in doing this. So this was my biggest mission was for my bloodline, and especially for my grandsons, because I don't want them to go through any of this that I had to go through to find who I am, because that is the treasure right there. Who I am is the treasure. That is the gold for me. And I am just going to be my authentic self now from these days forward. I am not going to put any masks on for anybody. I'm not going to play any part. I'm not going to do anything that is not of me. I can be me and I can be free.
mm,
And that's the important thing of it all because I've seen it. I've seen it in churches, I've seen it in the world where people just become their circumstances, they become what is the most easiest way rather than to be their authentic self. And that's written in one of my books as well. I don't believe it. I believe that's spoken about more in my second book
Mm.
about becoming my authentic self and seeing the goodness of God and seeing the miraculous take place. I am a big believer on miraculous and knowing my God in a very personal relationship. It's not just a church thing for me. It's not just do the regular routine every Sunday kind of thing. God is with me every day, and He brings miracles. He brings things to life every day. I when I wrote my my book series, the first book that I wrote was Faith to Believe, and that book has carried me through all these years because that's all I had was faith to believe, and it just brought very much peace and love and joy into my life as times unfolded and as I continued to write. Um, I can't say enough about it because it truly brought me to this place today, Faith to Believe. And
Beautiful.
that was the only book that I cared about in all of these books when I first started to write. It was just very important to me. And I stayed the course.
Mm. Amazing. So many, such a collection of books you've got out there, Pamela. So I'd love to hear where the listener can find your books. I know you've got a website, and obviously your latest testimony is coming out the 1st of December. Can be found
Correct.
on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and your website and other places.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I do believe there's 5 platforms in which it will be on,
amazing.
including with the Barnes and Noble and my website.
Oh, amazing. And what's the name of this new testimony?
The new testimony is to touch one heart.
To touch one heart.
Yeah, and my goal with that book is to touch one heart at a time.
Mm,
And that was something that I was given in the very beginning of writing my book series, was that I was to touch one heart with each book, whether it was just by a word on a page or something that I expressed, that it would touch a heart
mm,
and it would bring forth good.
mm. Powerful. I love that.
So that was just something I always was uh, interested in doing, even in working with retail and doing all that I was doing while I was writing these books. I do believe I was touching hearts, and I didn't even know it at the time.
Mm. That's a great. Yeah, I love the name for the book. So yeah, that sounds like a very exciting and inspirational read, and I know it's going to impact many lives. So yeah, you can grab that on Pamela's website that we'll link in the show notes below, and then also you can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and multiple other platforms as well. And then obviously take a look at Pamela's other stuff on the website as well. That's going to be linked in the show notes below. So Pamela, a massive thank you for sharing everything you have today.
It was such a pleasure, and I am so excited to continue to write and to continue to have the faith to believe that my books will truly go worldwide, because that was a promise I was given, that someday my books would touch hearts all over the world. So I'm going to hold fast to that in my faith to believe that it will do exactly that.
Mm, Faith to believe. Love it. So that concludes today's episode. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.